Hello and welcome to the next video of my LPL Spring Split 2023 preview series. We're going to cover IG, Invictus Gaming. If you missed previous videos, I've been doing this alphabetically this time. They're in a playlist that'll be shown at the end of this video. So we just talked about FPX yesterday, and they seem pretty doomed, the way I looked at it. And we get to this team, and not to continue the doom and gloom. Excuse me, I'm still sick. The doom and gloom, but IG looks like they're going to suck also. So they went 10-22 last year, 5-11 in both splits. It was a young team. Growth was something they needed to do. They really didn't do that. We saw an 80 carry become a support, which we've been seeing around all the world. I mean, worldwide. So it's not an IG problem. It could be a benefit for Wink, but in the end, they were swapping out a support. They were going back between a couple mid laners, a couple top laners. I mean, it was all over the place for this team. So things had to be done. What did they do? Bring up a couple players. Their LDL team, Invictus Gaming Young, went 21-19 last year, so not overly great. Middle of the road. Their coach this split is going to be WXZ. That's who's listed right now as head coach. They have no coaching experience, so there is no coaching experience here. Moves. Bringing in YSKM in top lane from the PCS. Brought in Gideon from KT from the LCK. He was their sub jungler last year. They brought in Dove to play mid lane. Dove, formerly Live Sandbox's role swap top laner. He is going back mid lane and going to play for IG. This means that Zika is out. Zika from top lane and Yukai from mid lane both went to LNG. June is starting for BLG in the jungle. And then lastly, Lucas, formerly Jin Liu, whichever, I don't know which name he's going by right now. Off the top of my head. But he is playing for Thunder Talk in support. So a lot of moves made by IG. Really, I'm not too fond of this team. Right now, going into this year, this team's average age is 21 years old, so it's a young team. YSKM is only 18. Was in the MVP talks in the PCS last split. 19 solo kills across the split in 19 games, which is very impressive. But he did have some lowlights as well because he is a young player, and young players that play aggressive are going to make mistakes. A 3.7 KDA, 8.6 CS per minute, 58.3 KP. So that's very good. He was dominating lane. He was winning lane, making things happen at a higher level than a lot of players do with farm the way he had it. 489 damage per minute, 23.8 damage share, 23.1 gold share. 6 champions in 19 games. I do remember going over him in my roundup and citing some playoff stats, which I have not written on the board. I'm just going to talk about them. They were awful. It feels like maybe at 18 years old, the moment was too big for him in the PCS playoffs. A lot of people did tell me along the way that Frank Esports was more so a best of 1 team than a best of 3 team, which in the end is what caused them some problems in the playoffs. Jax, Camille, Fiora are his 3 most played champions, so he is going to be one of those type of top laners. We're seeing a lane dominant top laner here. I'm going to consider Nenny the sub for this team. He is going to be in top lane as well at 19 years old. He had a 3.3 KDA, 7.4 CS per minute, 69.8 KP, 433 damage per minute, 23.4 damage share. 21.2 gold share across 19 games in 2021. He would play 7 champions in those 19 games. Last year he played a bit in the LDL. He played a bit with the big club, but nowhere really got a 10-game sample size for me to cite. So we had to go back all the way to 2021 to find one, which was an LPL sample, which is good. I mean, we would prefer to have an LPL sample versus an LDL sample. We just have to keep in mind the 7.4, like he lost lane hard. I mean, these numbers suck. 7.4 farm is losing lane hard. Damage share is average. Gold share is low because he's not farming, and he's only 18 years old at the time. So is there maybe a possibility for some growth? Yeah. I don't know. Last year I had mixed feelings about Nenny and Zika as they went back and forth. Didn't really think that there was one much better than the other. But evidently LNG thought Zika was better than Nenny because they took him, and IG is left with the latter. Ween is their academy or LDL top laner. 288 KDA, 788 CS per minute, 58 KP, so he is not LPL level yet. 666, so 666 damage per minute, 21.4 gold share, 7 champions, 30 games. Vladimir, Shyvana, and Gangplank were his most played champions last year. So that's an interesting champion pool. You don't, when was the last time Vladimir, Shyvana, and Gangplank were all 3 most played champions of anybody? Like, is this Flandre? Like, really, it's definitely something interesting. So, definitely something to monitor. I just think his numbers aren't great, probably because he is playing a champion like Vladimir as much as he is. But dealt a lot of damage, probably because of that champion pool being what it was. Excuse me. In the jungle, Gideon. So these stats are from 2021. He did not play more than a handful of games this past year. He's 19 years old, 2.6 KDA, 6.4 CS per minute, 71.1 KP. This is obviously in an era that we had in a meta that was very different than this past year. 71.1 KP, 238 damage per minute, 15.7 damage share, 19.5 gold share, 8 champions, 22 games. Nidalee and Lilia being the 2 most played. So that kind of just puts into perspective, right? We're talking about Nidalee and Lilia meta, not a Xin Zhao, Wukong, Viego, J4, Lee Sin type of deal, right? So we'll see how he does. At only 19 years old now, those stats were when he was 18 as an LCK rookie. Hard to really fault him for what occurred in his rookie season. Tianjin is 18 years old, is the backup, 597 KDA, 621 CS per minute, 74.3 KP, 296 damage per minute, 19.3 gold share, 5 champions in 17 games in the LDL last year, so he's only 17 years old when he did this. Hecarim, Udyr, and Rengar were his most played champions. So definitely another interesting champion pool here with Udyr and Rengar. Obviously, Udyr was meta last year at times, so I guess it isn't all that surprising to think about it. But the Rengar definitely is notable. Gideon, there's going to be an opportunity for these IG junior players or young players to be able to push for an opportunity. IG is not a team that is afraid to do that. As I said earlier, they made a lot of moves last season, so I won't be surprised if this kid gets a look. Lyweir, I'm going to go Lyweir, yeah. I have them listed as the LDL jungler from this past split, so TNGN stats were, like I said, from 2021. Lyweir had a 5.64 KDA, 571 CS per minute, 72.3 KP, so these numbers are good for the LDL level. I mean, that's a high KDA, that's a CS per minute, that's above the threshold, that's a KP above the threshold, 338 damage per minute, 19.2 gold share, 6 champions, 24 games, Viego, Wukong, and Belveth. So maybe that, I don't know. I mean, they're going to go back and forth, I guess. It's hard to really tell because I think this other kid, TNGN, looks really good. I thought he had moments where he looked solid at Nest. So IG has some interesting decisions to make here because they have a lot of young players at the top. They have a lot of young players behind them. This is one of the more stocked cupboards when it comes to prospects. In mid lane, Dove, 24 years old. These stats are from 2021 because this past year, like I said, he played top lane. 3.9 KDA, 8.5 CS per minute, 69.7 KP. So an average mid laner in the LCK. So going to be an average mid laner in the LPL. Not going to be bottom tier, but will be just kind of in the middle. 466 damage per minute, 25.2 damage share, 224 gold share. 11 champions in 45 games. His champion pool is interesting as well. Set, LeBlanc, and Lucian were his 3 most played champions. You really can't get 3 more different champions out of there, right? You got a melee, you got an assassin, mage, and then you have Lucian. So he can play a lot of different things in mid. And you think about a guy like UCal, who right now is in the LPL, a middling LCK Korean support mid laner. I think Dove is probably going to fill a similar role here with IG. His backup, there are 3 backups on this team. MG is 20 years old, had a 385 KDA, 66 CS per minute, 66 KP, so this guy is not ready by any means. Losing lane hard. 526 damage per minute, 20 gold share, 8 champions, 26 games. Sion, Galio, and Silas. These numbers were from 2021 in LCK Academy. That is below Challenger if you are not well versed. So that is 3rd tier LCK. And right now he's positioned to be the number 2 or 3 player in the depth chart. I guess the team is looking at, they're probably looking back at their history of having rookie and mid and being like, maybe we want a Korean mid laner. So they're trying to have a Korean mid laner at the top, a Korean mid laner in the LDL. XZZ at 20 years old, had a 448 KDA, 772 CS per minute, 66.8 KP, so another guy that's not ready. 493 damage per minute, 20.3 gold share, 7 champions, 29 games. Rumble, Akali, and Vex. There's Tiga. Tiga had a 325 KDA, 887 CS per minute, 56.7 KP. So these numbers are good. Tigas are good. Like an 887 CS per minute is winning lane hard. Did not get into a lot of fights, so we're looking at a guy with under 60 KP. That's very low. But was ahead in his lane, 446 damage per minute, 23-1 gold share, 8 champions in 27 games. Lucian, Akali, and Viego. These stats are from 2021. He did not play a lot last year. I don't know why. And XZZ played over him. So, I mean, I don't know if that guy's like done, if he's been released, if there's, I don't know if there's an attitude problem or what, but those numbers are good. So, definitely something to monitor with IG. I mean, there's a lot of young players here that, are all over the place in development. Like MG and XZZ both are not at a point where they're ready, but Tiga is, Lyweir is, Tianjin is, Ween is not. I think that they're kind of all over the place. In bot lane, on, age is not listed. 29 KDA, 91 CS per minute, 72.5 KP, 551 damage per minute, 27 damage share, 24.3 gold share, 9 champions in 29 games. Aphelios, Draven, and Jinx. Hard to really blame him for what was happening, obviously being alongside a role swap support. And then also multiple other supports going on, different AD carries, just an absolute disaster for IG. Hard to have anybody do very well. Zhao Yui, I'm going to go Zhao Yui, is 20 years old and is the backup. I think that this guy is good enough for the LPL. I thought that last year. I know he had some issues early on. They gave him an opportunity, I think, in spring, and he struggled a lot. But IG as a whole struggled a lot. We look at their record. We've been talking about it all this episode. He is not... he clearly was not the problem because they sent him back to the LDL and the problems persisted. A 539 KDA, 997 CS per minute, 70.2 KP, nearly 700 damage per minute, 26.8 gold share. Like, that is hefty. Like, that is a big boy down there in the bot lane. 6 champions in 30 games, Zeri, Samira, and Draven. I mean, this guy should be their AD carry. No offense to An, but Zhao Yui looks like a guy that should be getting a spot on an LPL team in some capacity. At support, we have Wink at 23 years old, had a 254 KDA, 69.7 KP. Those two numbers are across his entire split, which includes a lot of 80 carry games. As far as support games are concerned, he played 11 champions across 28 games, Renata, Nautilus, and Rakan being the 3 most played. I'm going to go with Wu Nei is the backup. Had a 3.3 KDA, 66.5 KP, 6 champions, 21 games, Nautilus, Set, and Renata in the LDL. And then Bayu only played 5 games in spring, had a 1 KDA, 48.9 KP, and played Nautilus I mean, there's the only champion he played twice. I'm definitely a guy that just kind of is going with the flow there. I guess he might be the sub. I mean, this team's got a bunch of players at the LDL level that they're just like, I believe in having depth. I believe in having depth. I believe in having the cupboard stocked with prospects. I think it's important, especially for a team that has nothing going for it. But at a certain point, you just have chaos. Like, you need to get these guys time on the Rift. And if you're not getting them time, what are you doing with them? So, with 3 different mid laners to back up Dove, 2 junglers that you're going to have to decide which one. I mean, both of them are at an age and are good enough that they should be getting an opportunity at the LDL level at the very least. You've got an 80 carry that is too good for the LDL. I mean, it's a mess. Because IG, honestly, I don't think is better than a bottom 5 team going into this year. It's just, and I mean, and the guy who has to navigate it, WXZ, has no coaching experience. So it's a disaster. So if you're an IG fan and you want to try and give this team a little bit of hopium, you go right ahead in the comments section. Like the video if you like it, subscribe to the channel for daily League of Legends content. Follow me on Twitter. Join the Discord. Become a YouTube member. $3 a month supports me. Keeps the lights on. $10 a month keeps the lights on. And you get extra content, including League of Legends predictions for like individual games the day before they come out. So if that interests you, that's at a $10 tier when games begin. Thank you for watching, and I hope you come back for more content.